The bunker shuddered again, a deep rumble that shook the reinforced walls like the planet itself was trembling in fear. Dust fell in lazy streams from the ceiling, coating every console and glowing holo panel with a fine layer of grit. I stepped inside, gripping my medical kit tightly, trying to look composed. Inside, I was screaming silently. Why did I choose this line of work? A safer profession, asteroid surveying or even plasma serpent wrestling, suddenly seemed infinitely more appealing. Officers parted just enough to let me pass, their faces tense, eyes flicking toward the center of the room with a mix of hope and desperation usually reserved for miracle workers, or very strong coffee. And there she stood, Queen Lyesa of Sorath, surrounded by swirling holographic displays. Her presence dominated the room effortlessly, even amid chaos. Her long, elegant ears twitched with every new damage report streaming across the tactical network. Battle-worn, her pale hair tangled against the edges of scorched armor, she looked sculpted from marble. All except for her left forearm, where plasma burns glowed faintly, refusing to be hidden. She tried to shield it behind a tactical projection, but it was like hiding a starship behind a lampshade. "You summoned a medic?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. An officer muttered, "She didn't summon you. We did." Lyesa shot him a glare sharp enough to cut titanium. "My arm is fine." "It's actively sizzling, Your Majesty," he replied. "We can smell it." Her gaze returned to the holographic maps, unyielding. "The smell is the enemy's fear." I opened my mouth, but my brain tripped over reality. "That is definitely your arm." Her eyes flicked toward me. "Cool. Assessing. Medic Torvin, is it? Proceed quickly. We are losing the northern trench." I knelt beside her command chair and opened my kit, hands mostly steady. The bunker dimmed as backup lights kicked in, casting shadows across the room, like the universe itself was emphasizing the drama. I cleaned the wound, applying cooling gel that hissed against her burned skin. She didn't flinch. Not even a twitch. Concentration anchored her, almost making the bunker's chaos disappear. "You know," I muttered as I wrapped the bandage, "most patients feel at least a tiny bit of pain. Just a hint." I am aware of the expectation. I simply declined to participate. Fair enough, I thought. Pain is overrated anyway. Another explosion shook the bunker. I stumbled, knee cracking against the floor. She didn't move an inch. Her ear twitched. And then, just for a heartbeat, I thought she smiled. "The ground is attacking me," I muttered. "It does that. Remain focused." I finished securing the bandage. Her uninjured hand closed around my wrist, a deliberate, controlled motion. My breath caught. She pulled me slightly closer, forcing me to meet her eyes. Holographic displays threw shifting light across her face, softening her features in an almost ethereal glow. "Your work is precise," she said quietly. "You steady the battlefield more than you realize." My pulse raced. "Thank you," I managed. Her grip loosened and she returned to her tactical displays, acting as if nothing had happened. But I felt it. The lingering heat of her touch burned across my skin like plasma. The northern trench was under assault. Holographic alerts blinked incessantly. Lyesa issued orders, unflinching, regal. I noticed the subtle tension every time she flexed her burned arm. Small WR of suppressed pain, nothing more, but I recognized it instantly. "You should sit for a moment," I murmured. She lifted an eyebrow. "We are in the middle of a battle." "Yes, but also in the middle of ignoring your own medical condition. That's risky strategy." Her ears twitched. Then, a soft sigh, just the smallest release of tension. She sat on a supply crate. I knelt beside her, scanning the bandage with a portable medcan device, which beeped nervously. "You need rest," I said quietly. "The planet needs a shield," she countered. "A seismic cannon." My stomach dropped. "The one that shakes a continent." "Yes. Quite rude." A blast rocked the ground. I braced myself while she remained seated, calm. "Are you certain your species doesn't have magnets in your bones?" I muttered. "No." Intriguing idea. I reinforced the bandage with cooling gel. Her eyes softened momentarily. "You worry for me again," she said. "That's my job." Her gaze flicked to mine, ears angled slightly forward. "It's more than that." I swallowed. "I don't understand." "Yesterday in the bunker," she said softly, "I held your hand because I needed to feel not alone. For a moment." The shuttle bay erupted in alarms. Enemy frigates approached. She rose, unyielding, every inch the warrior queen. "Torvin, I must fly the payload." "No. Absolutely not. You're injured." Her eyes softened, but her determination was absolute. "It is not suicide. It is very close." I swallowed hard as she guided me onto a small, battered shuttle. She took the pilot seat, eyes fixed on the void ahead. Warning lights flashed furiously. "Is the grinding noise normal?" I asked. "No," she said, calm as ever. "Consistency," I muttered. "Important." We launched into a sky torn by plasma fire. She piloted with precision, weaving through debris like a cosmic dance. At striking range, she armed the payload. The enemy superweapon neared full charge. 10 seconds, she whispered. I held my breath. The payload shot forward, striking the fragile core. The enemy frigate exploded in blinding light. Shockwaves rippled through space. The assault ended. Cheers erupted from Orlean, the command carrier. Back on solid ground, Liesa stood beside me, her arm wrapped securely, posture steady, but softer somehow. "You have changed," she said quietly. "So have you," I replied. Her ears dipped gently, almost a bow. We walked past soldiers, past shattered battlements, past smoke that now smelled faintly of victory. Her uninjured hand brushed mine. Deliberate. Silent. Finally, unspoken words chosen to speak. And I did not pull away. The battlefield was quiet now, but not peaceful. Smoke curled from shattered railgun platforms, and the air smelled of ozone and scorched metal. Queen Liesa walked ahead of me, her uninjured hand occasionally brushing against mine. A silent reminder that, for a moment, she chose not to hide. "Torvin," she said, voice low, "the enemy will not retreat so easily. Their fleet scattered, but there is another target. One that will decide the war." I frowned. Another superweapon. She shook her head, pale hair falling across her face. Worse. A gravitational destabilizer. One pulse and it could tear Sorath apart. The command carrier Orlean quaked beneath our feet. Engineers rushed to repair systems still smoking from the earlier battle. Holographic maps flickered, showing enemy positions coalescing beyond the outer rim. "Of course," I muttered. "Why fight simple when catastrophic is available?" She allowed a faint smile, almost invisible. "Our enemies are creative in their cruelty." We reached the bunker's observation deck. From here, the entire northern continent stretched below us, a shattered patchwork of trenches, burned forests, and collapsed shield hubs. Liesa leaned on the railing, ears twitching as she scanned the horizon. "I need a plan," I said cautiously. "Yoram still needs rest." "Plans are for times when survival is optional," she replied. "This is not optional." Her words reminded me why she was a queen. Not just by title, but by action. By sheer presence. She moved with certainty that made even the walls feel steady, even as Orlean groaned under strain. I took a deep breath. "Then I'll help. You won't go alone." She turned, her gaze piercing. I would expect nothing less. The shattered forward outpost. The forward outpost had survived the first assault but only just. Hull panels hung loose, sparking from sustained fire, and trenches were filled with rubble. Soldiers saluted Liesa as she entered, many still wide-eyed from the previous battle. "Medic Torvin," a young lieutenant whispered. "She's changed." I raised a brow. "We all change under fire. Just keep your focus on holding the line." Liesa's attention was already elsewhere. She crouched beside a gravelift platform, inspecting the stabilizers. "The destabilizer is mobile," she murmured. "It's not just a weapon, it's a planet breaker. If it reaches orbit, all our cities," her voice trailed off. I stepped closer. "We have time." We can intercept it. Interception requires precision, she said. Precision requires sacrifice. I felt my stomach tighten. Then we do it together. Her ears twitched, almost imperceptibly. You are brave. Or foolish. Possibly both, I said with a grin, trying to mask the way my pulse had started racing. She allowed a small smile, and for a moment, the war felt distant. Just for a heartbeat, she was Liesa, not a queen, not a soldier, not a symbol, just herself. A hazardous approach. We boarded a modified assault shuttle, smaller and more fragile than the one we had used before. This one carried magnetic grappling hooks, kinetic disruptors, and a handful of experimental weaponry designed to disable the destabilizer. Shuttle looks worse than the last one, I said. Appearance is irrelevant, Liesa replied, strapping herself in. Function is everything. And function will save our world. I swallowed and buckled in. Warning lights blinked furiously, screaming of overloaded circuits, and the engines groaned like they were already giving up. We launched into the void, dodging debris from ruined satellites and drifting wreckage from the previous engagement. Liesa piloted with near-perfect precision, weaving through obstacles as though they were part of a ballet. Her calm contrasted sharply with my racing heartbeat. Torvin, she said, glancing at me, you must remain focused. One error and we fail. I'm focused, I muttered, though my hands were already slick with sweat. Her ears twitched, and I knew she sensed my anxiety. Good. Focus.